Would anyone care to comment about where they see the tablets coming into play, both at a distribution standpoint and actually from a contractor's standpoint? I heard comments about FaceTime and being face-to-face with your representative. I'd like to hear some discussion about that if you could do that.
Well, I'll point out we have one tablet out. Yeah. Up there.
And a lot in the audience.
Right now. I don't know if the other three people have one. Justin, do you have a tablet?
No, actually I don't.
Okay.
I do not.
Yes.
Okay. So Greg does have one. Okay. So 50% of the panelists have tablets. Okay.
I think it's more and more. I think in the beginning when they were first getting launched, we're right on this threshold as far as I could see for our business, what we need, you know, and I'm speaking from a distributor, but I think even on the customer side I think it's starting to break over from, and we joked about it, from just a giant cell phone that doesn't make calls to an actual business tool. I mean, I think it was gimmicky to come out with, and it was great, it was neat, it looked cool to sit there at the booth, you know, appointments and take notes on it, but now it's starting to integrate with more applications and more back end, and you hear everything about the cloud and that concept, and now that's beginning to tie it all together. And the example is, and I didn't get one until I knew that right now I can open this up, I can gain access directly into my PC in my office in Syracuse, New York. I could pull up my operating system, my report generator, I can open any file and gain access to any spot in my server. And then there's other pieces with Dropbox where I can take, you know, files, put it in the cloud, if you will. Sorry to keep using the word, but and then once it's out there, then it's accessible from anywhere, from any device, from anything. And then, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier about now, there's the softwares with the lighting retrofits that you can go through and do an audit process and generate things. So it's really starting to come to that next level where it becomes a true replacement of something. It was just a nice, cute add-on, and I think it's becoming a replacement where I'd start to feel confident of recommending, you know, in the future that this is what salesmen carry, or this is the management tool.
Sorry. How many people in the audience have one? Okay. Yeah, it's like, yeah. A lot of people, you know, are using them now. Yeah,
and I think if you know, if you take a company like Wesco, we have 3,100 sales representatives. If and we don't issue iPads to all of them, but if they did, if we think in the future that entire sales force having an iPad, how powerful it would be to send out, you know, in the morning, I'm sure there's an application for it, that when this outside salesperson turns it on, the product of the day appears that was sent out from Wesco headquarters, let's say, and had a 2-slide presentation on it to help them understand what it is and perhaps how to sell it as they make their sales calls for the day or for the week, let's say. So things like that are coming very quickly, and I'm sure we'll all be there soon when everybody has one and we can start sending those instant messages over, using them directly to sell to customers. So.
Well, once you get the hardware, it'll be sky's the limit. Yeah. I mean, it's just stuff that you can't even think of, or if you said it, you know, you'd be like, no, we can't do that. And it's there. It's already, you know, it's already the technology that's out. So, you know, it's the hardware is kind of just the beginning, and there's a million options. But all the technologies and the software behind it, if it's not there, it'll be there tomorrow, and you'll be able to do it. So that's it. You got to start thinking ahead, asking those questions, and figuring out what it is, because it's going to be there.
Yeah, an application that always amazes me that we can do this is, have you seen the one where you can take a picture of your check and it'll deposit it into your account? It just blows my mind. You could keep a bank in California and live in Pennsylvania, and you don't even need to go to the branch. So a lot of cool stuff.
You guys want to add anything or move to the next question?
No, I think utilizing tablets on our side is great. I think you guys coming in and bringing you know, cut sheets, things like that, being able to research products is a great tool. Personally, on our side as well, they actually, the oldest owner in the company, he's the only one besides me in the company to have one, and his wife bought it for him. He never thought he'd use it, and now he takes it to every every job meeting, and he's able to go pull up POs and review things with project managers, and he's able to contact suppliers, say, email me something, I want to show this product to my guy in the field, and he's found tons of uses for it. So I think it's something that's very important. I think it's, in a lot of ways, is going to replace for a lot of people the laptop. I think people have gotten to a point where, I don't think, if you don't need to be constantly typing and have huge storage, I think a tablet is a very, very convenient thing in the field for us.
Well, and with the cloud side, storage is no
That's
longer
true,
an issue.
yeah.
You can store to your, your heart's content.
Next question. You've been talking about the cloud. I'm not sure if everybody knows what it is. Why don't you tell us?
Well, the basic principle is just think of it as, it's the mythical, magical cloud that all information can be, and we joke now, it's certainly a room somewhere in this country, and multiple of them, where they're just massive data centers. And it's just a massive storage. And what the concept behind it, and it's playing into aspects that some are still well beyond me, but is the idea that you park information somewhere different. It's no longer on your desktop. It's no longer in your company, right there. It's going to this massive data center in this cloud, they call it, is just a catchphrase. And so you're able to move data around with efficiencies and capabilities that we've never had. Email had limitations of sizes you could send. If you really had to send big files, it was FTP and different programs to transfer those. So it's opening up not only new avenues of how much, how often, and where, but then you can access from anything, and that's what this is really about. So if you're at work and you're working on a massive file for something, I can open up my cell phone, I can grab a tablet, I can go to someone else's, I can go to a coffee shop and jump on that computer and pull it down there. From your neighbors, it doesn't matter. It's the idea that it's this centralized warehouse of data that is there. Yes? Sorry.
George and then Sue.
Anybody can switch over to either Google Docs or Microsoft 360 for your business?
Not business, but I know there's a lot in the education field right now that are doing more with Google Docs. Google Docs is an interesting. Google, I'll tell you right now, Apple has a lot of the hardware, and certainly the big buzz, the big name, and but Google behind the scenes, and we were just talking about that last night. It's insane what they already have, what's coming, and what they'll have on the back end side, the software and the capability. Hardware still right now is ruled. iPhones everywhere. Droid's a big name, which is powered by Google, but that Google platform I think is going to be it's going to be something that's just going to blow our socks off soon. It already has.
Yeah, we don't use external storage at all at Wesco. It's all internal.
So it's still all Microsoft PC?
Yes. Yep.
Anybody in the room use external storage yet?
Well, we're not using external storage. I don't know how many other manufacturers are bringing some of the distributors, but we're all ramped up on Salesforce.com, and all of our sales reports and everything else are out there. So, individual salespeople have limited access to their specific data. We're doing all the forecasting, pipeline, sales reporting, everything through there now. It's our common portal.
And I was just adding on that. So the cloud is now becoming not only data, but operating systems. So Salesforce.com pioneered not only is your data up there, but you don't own the software on your own and your own server. It's all up on the cloud. And even ERP systems are now being sold from the cloud. So which turns all this stuff into a business expense instead of a capital investment into it.
Exactly.
And all of the maintenance is done by the company that you contract with that has, and it's all in the cloud. So I keep pointing up, but it's in a big data warehouse.
Fools me every time.
There are even some portions of the cloud that can be totally privatized. Like a private line phone network system, it's a private line internet-based compute.
And there's not one, with that term, there's not one cloud, there's not one data warehouse, there are thousands. It's everywhere. So just as you're thinking about it, if you're not familiar, it's not like one giant room that's taking care of the world, but it's...
I don't have the data, but I think Google owns about 60% of it, if not more. Right now they're at the head of it. with phenomenal operating systems that you can use for free. What you can get for Google completely free that are being used in businesses is amazing.
Well, you were talking about capital expense. The only thing I'd like to add to that would be is that there's a lot of front-end work, though, that comes with these standardized programs. Because there's a lot of setup time.
Correct.
I think one of the things that we've struggled with at our store is just the emerging technology and trying to consolidate all this and how the heck do you use it all. And particularly, I'm kind of intrigued by this whole concept of you being able to get onto that iPad onto your server. I mean, that is like foreign to me. And I've got an iPad. I'd like to do that. I have no clue how to do that. I was in Guatemala on a mission. I was in Guatemala on a missions trip, and these guys, these missionaries and stuff like that we were working with, they're not Facebooking, FaceTiming. They're FaceTiming back and forth, and I'm thinking, how the heck are they doing that? You know? I guess what I'm saying is maybe I'm so stupid here, but I would like to have somebody, or I guess I'm going to ask you, have you had somebody that you can go to the Apple store and pay them $1,000 to give you all of this data so you can bring it back? How do we get all this stuff so I know how to do all this stuff?
You know, it's the beginning of what I was talking about was about asking. One was getting involved myself, just wanting to, right? I mean, you got to really dive and play around with some of this, and I told the story last night. I wanted to do this, and the application I use, just for the record, is the one that's called Jump, and that's a remote desktop app. There's about 9 of them, at least 9 that are credible. And the problem is, I called Apple, and I'm not certainly attacking them, but I called them and said, could you recommend one? What do I do? How does this work? I want to make it work, and I want to get it done fast. I don't want to mess around. I don't care the price tag, because they're all, $15, $20. It's nothing crazy. So I don't care the price tag. Let's get it done. Well, this one looks pretty good online. I was like, well, I mean, I could see that. I could see what some guy wrote in, but I said, you can't recommend, how do I set it up? What do I do? And they're like, well, you can contact your administrator. Well, I'm kind of half the administrator. I don't know. I'm not kidding. I mean, we outsource a guy, but I'm like, well, I can't call myself, so forget about it. So then, it ended up being a phone call to we outsource a little bit of our IT side, and I called him, and he said, you know what, I don't know, but I know one company used Jump. So I said, you know what, that's the closest thing I got to an answer. I'm going with it, and it happened to work. But I guess the point is there's so many options, right? And that's part of it, is not only figuring out what's out there, but, I've heard a lot of talk throughout the past couple of days. One is leaning on the generation that uses it, is as simply as that. And then just asking of different people. And we have a wealth of knowledge. I mean, we utilize Tom in the back there and different people and ask questions, and then it just kind of comes out. There is no silver bullet answer, but it's just constantly trying to figure out the next thing.
So do we have any AD bring us in some 20-year-old kids that just know how to do this? And we have like a seminar?
I'll get you in a minute. I was going to say, Greg, great lead-in. What NAD is doing is we're starting up a technology think tank next week, invitation only. So you can ask your questions and you can get answers from other distributors without anybody selling you anything. So anybody who wants to be invited, and it's going to be on LinkedIn, okay? You want to be invited, if you will leave your business card today, we will make sure you're a part of that group. And it would just be distributors, asking the questions and answering the questions among yourself.
You won't laugh at us for
She'll have it on mute.
No, because I've been one of those people too who went to the Apple store with my iPhone, who they actually took me down the hall to the AT&T store to get it fixed. Okay, I won't laugh because I'm there with their, and then I wrote it down step by step before I left, and I carried the index card in my purse. Okay, so no, and that's what this is for. It's like we're all in this together. We're all learning. And part of the asking is, one thing I have seen is people that are afraid of the technology, your children. if they're over the age of 10, may be able to answer some of these questions for you.
Right, and they can answer the question. I have tons of students that tweet and Facebook and do social networking for summer internships for all types of industries. But I think my strong feeling about what makes it work is a Drew who really knows the distribution business and who gets smart about the technology, then applies it her way to the business. Tom, who understands the business. You can't just hand it to a kid that knows how to tweet. Right. You have to have someone who knows how to apply it to the industry.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it so good.
And that's why we're starting the think tank. Like I said, it's going to start the end of next week. Everybody, you know. And we're going to, if we have questions that we can't ask amongst themselves, I will be the moderator. Then I'm going to go try to find somebody in the industry who can answer it. But I'm going to try to sell anything. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just share a funny story? So I'm listening to everybody talk. We're such a relationship business, right? And so we're also worried about how technology is going to screw up our relationships rather than make us more efficient, you know? And so my dad, who was a salesman for the New York Telephone Company in the 30s, so he was a salesman all his life. He sold private line networks to big companies in New York City, so he's selling, and his biggest job was convincing Salesforce managers to buy more phone systems from him and put more phones on the desks of their sales forces because they were worried it was going to ruin their relationships with customers. And he actually had a training module about how a salesperson could use a wired phone more effectively to build their relationship with their customers. So, and we've all gotten over that because we love talking to our customers on the phone. So, you know, we'll all get over all the rest of it.
And if we could get that, I think that would make it very
story. In fact, I don't know if we kept this tape. It was a little training manual. I remember talking about giving these pitches about how to use the phone.
Because in the 30s, phones were new technology and just as scary as iPads and clouds and software as service today.
Right. And they were not on everybody's desk in the offices. So that's what his big sale was. When he sold the Salesforce on that, 50 phones went in, and, you know, it was a big win. Because, you know, there was one in the front office or something.
Well,
No,
I was just, now I think the biggest stumbling block isn't, and even though we love to talk about the technology itself or the one thing, but it's the choices. And Greg, it was to what you just said. Back then there was a phone to try. You know, now there's 60 different phones, there's 20 different tablets, there's thousands of applications, and which one's going to work, and some are paid, and I mean that's where the real struggle in this should be concentrating. To your point is, how do you choose? You know you're going to. We're all going to evolve just like we have on everything. It's just how do we choose the right thing or the most productive one that can be applied, like Sue said.
So you might have more questions. We've run out of time, but last words from the panelists. Anything you'd like to say or add? Well, really appreciate the panelists coming in today and everybody in the room. And again, if you want to be part of this think tank, bring your card up. And, you know, like I said, we're going to soft start it next week. You're the first people I've announced it to, that it's starting next week. So you'll be in on the ground floor. Thanks again.